Welcome back, all my beautiful, loyal patriots and nationalists of Ireland and abroad. Today we have a video coming from the Trump administration, more specifically the Vice President J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference, talking about the massive curtail of freedom and freedom of speech in Europe, mainly Ireland, England and Germany. Of course, we can include Ireland in this case as well, because we kind of enact a lot of the laws from the EU, same as them. But J.D. Vance, of course, being the vice president to Trump, we know that this one's going to be fiery. I can't wait to react to it, guys. I got sent this more than any other, political video I've ever got sent in my entire life, guys. A lot of people wanted me to react to this one. It only happened 2 days ago, and yeah, hopefully it's amazing, guys. We have freedoms coming from the USA, which hopefully they enact. I love to see more freedoms, in terms of the internet and of course the media, more sort of truthful and honest and open media platforms, not the propaganda that we get from BBC, RT, Virgin Media, News Talk and all these other platforms. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, let me know your thoughts, and let's get it.
This conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today.
Right.
But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within.
Oh, wow.
The retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America.
And these values are heavily shared with the USA. Of course, the USA, I would love to have something like the First Amendment, the freedom of speech in their constitution, written by their great founders, and their Second Amendment, the ability to, carry firearms and, arms, basically, of the people. So the Second Amendment protects the First Amendment. It's a beautiful constitution that the Americans have. But when Germany was beaten after World War II, the Americans actually came over and helped write the constitution of Germany and also of Japan, okay? And a lot of things were written into them that were great. We wrote our own constitution. We wrote our own constitution in Ireland. So it's a little bit different than Germany, Japan, and the Americans' place, the America country, but still very similar in what they want to see, okay, freedoms, okay, but that seems to be being curtailed recently, okay, and he's about to talk about it apparently.
Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values.
True.
Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy.
Absolutely, and everyone, in Europe and America, we all, Ireland included, we obviously back Ukraine against Russia because we see like a curtail of freedom there. Absolutely. So that influences the rest of Europe.
But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty.
He's talking about Russia of the old, okay, after World War II and stuff. They were very, heavily on censorship, very kind of like a dictatorship, honestly.
Freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected.
This is a great speech. I love this. Yeah, so he's obviously against the sort of, pressures of Russia and the communist people and that kind of thing up above Europe, because like I said, we kind of follow that sort of model that the US gave to us before and after World War II, but specifically after World War II, of course.
And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action.
Wow.
I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own.
And for most people, if you're a libertarian or if you're, conservative or whatever, even if you don't agree with these things, if you're a liberal guy, even if you don't agree with that, because I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with abortion and stuff like that, or would agree with it. But even if you don't agree with people, guys, the reason that they have these laws, the freedom of speech, the freedom of this, is so that even that you disagree with people, you're able to hold that position, and that people are allowed to, be opposed to what you think. Absolutely, guys. I don't agree with half the stuff you said there, but I'm like, okay, well, they're free to do that, obviously. Okay? So, and, you shouldn't go to jail for that. That's just crazy, guys, to be praying and, to hold religious beliefs. Now they obviously want to curtail that, to hold, if you write something on social media that's against the mainstream, or let's say it's against the narrative, or it's, misinformation, but it's just really somebody's opinion, you can be, convicted for that in jail, which is unfortunate, because it's just like, where is the freedom of speech then, though? I want more freedoms for the people. Absolutely. I want unlimited freedoms for the people, hopefully, as far as we can go without doing anything to hurt people, indirectly or directly, right? But I don't mean emotionally, I mean physically, right? And against the law, okay?
After British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility.
What?
He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law.
Oh my God, yeah, this has gotten out of control. My whole thing would be about, the freedom to express yourself on social media. If some guy says something on social media, like if he tells you guys to go and jump off a cliff or something, and that happens, I don't think you should be liable for that, because you're just listening to someone's crazy opinion. Me personally, guys, I take what's good and I discard what's really bad, like Bruce Lee said, right? I'm not trying to, listen to every single thing that I hear on the internet. I mean, that's just crazy, guys. A logical, professional guy like myself, I think that most people should be like that. Most people are professional, right? The professionals. And we don't just listen to crazed lunatics on the internet. But I don't think that they should go to jail because they say something crazy. I mean, it's just words at the end of the day. I don't think it really influences anyone to do anything. But if it does influence you, I think you should be looking at yourself rather than calling up the police. It seems a bit crazy.
Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizen suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation.
Oh yeah.
Misinformation like...
That's big time, guys. Big time. I think the US was the biggest proprietor of that. Like I said that word before. It was like they pretty much are the biggest of that. Like you have, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, who used to be comedy hosts, and now they're pushing media. You have the government kind of curtailing these big, social media platforms. Twitter, they curtailed a lot of people. Then you had, of course, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. A lot of shadow banning, a lot of banning people. But now with Trump coming in, thankfully, that's been completely taken away again. X is a freedom of speech platform. Facebook is completely freedom of speech now, which is great to see. Zuckerberg completely did a 180 turn on that. Hopefully they keep that for the years to come as well, guys, because freedom of speech on social media is what makes it fun and exciting place to live. Okay, not this sort of boring Russia or Germany 1945 sort of censorship. I hate that, guys. I would hate to see the countries devolve into that. That would be wild.
Come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation.
Oh, yeah.
Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth.
Yeah, so it actually turned out to be that's the truth, guys. The CIA recently, they said on RT News, Sky News, it was this mainstream media that the CIA said that it came from a lab in China. And they knew this years ago, but they curtailed that. That's not good, guys. They are the ones that are spreading misinformation, and it's crazy to see, unfortunately.
So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that.
Let's go. I love to hear that. Yeah, the Biden administration, it seemed like, curtailed everything. And I don't know, like, America is this country of freedoms apparently, but the president would always say, no, we have to curtail people. But thankfully now we have Trump, we have JD Vance that want to push freedoms and have people the right to express themselves, to have journalists like myself give their opinions on these matters on the internet. And if people agree to listen to me, then all so well. If not, then all so well as well. You know what I mean? This is capitalism in its finest, guys. So I love to see that, man. I love to hear him say that.
We'll do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
I love that. That's absolutely amazing. We may differ, and this is the whole concept of free speech. It's not just for one side to be heard more than the other. It's that we disagree with what you say, and we allow it to be heard, and we actually fight for you to be heard. About the whole abortion thing, guys, obviously I think that should be, definitely it should be allowed up to a certain point. I mean, I don't think anything after 12 weeks should be, aborted, let's just say. Because there are accidents and there are things like that happen, okay, within the first couple of weeks. But something that's like, a couple of weeks before the baby's born and stuff like that, absolutely, guys. I mean, I don't think that should be allowed. It's kind of a bit, it's a bit of a gray area. But like you said, I don't think the guy should go to jail for praying outside the clinic. I mean, that just seems ridiculous. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what controversial ideas you guys have. You know, YouTube seems a lot more open and free now, which I love to see. It's actually helped build the platform a lot more as well. I see a lot more channels popping up talking about how it's great, and YouTube has done amazing work to actually make it free and open. But let's talk about the comedy for a second. You know, you have things like Tropic Thunder, these funny movies that are non-PC, that are the best movies that are ever made. You know, and now I can't even think of a comedy within the last 5 to 6 years, 10 years even, that have been remotely funny compared to that, guys. I don't think any kind of comedy ever, even stand-up comedy now, it seems like, is getting curtailed in Scotland. 4 people got arrested for making memes and making jokes on the internet. You know, hopefully that will definitely be more open and free now with JD and Trump in office. Hopefully they kind of make it so that you can speak your mind a little bit more, and that will help people on the left and the right. Okay, I love you guys all. I can't do without you, so I appreciate the support so much. If you want to become a member of the channel, it's just the price of a coffee or a scone, super cheap, the price of a croissant, nothing basically, and it helps really support me every single month. If you guys want to check out the merch as well, check out my Patreon for loads of unblocked videos. I love you all. Stay free, and I'll see you all in the next one, guys. Peace.